Hey, good evening, and welcome to Streaming Boot Camp. I'm your host, Vic Sidis. Welcome to the show that's devoted to helping you become a better streamer. I've been doing this for over 3 years and have learned a few tricks along the way, and I like to share those. Hey, if you're watching us live, you can catch us on any of our channels. We've got YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, StreamYard. Be sure to like and subscribe because that helps the show. So today's show is going to be about the camera I'm using right now. You're looking at me using the Insta360. I know I've talked about cameras in one of my previous shows, but I thought that I'd take a deeper dive into Insta360 because that's the one I use all the time. Now I've recommended that to some of the people that I have, my experts that come on the show, and they bought the camera, but I noticed that their coloration was really bad. And I decided this might be a good time to visit how you adjust those colors. So I'm going to take a crack at it myself today and go through some of these colors. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit here about what the take you behind the scenes here second and let you see what the actual system. So here we are, we're behind the scenes, and as you can see, we've got all these different things that you can adjust: brightness, contrast, saturation, sharpness, temperature. Now, it does come with a system setting that you can use to make it automatic. You might say, why not go with the automatic? So I'm going to go ahead and bring that over here into the automatic zone. And right now it's on the green screen, but let me go back to my main look here. So there, now you can kind of see, to me, that looks pretty yellow. So I'm not really happy with that. I'm going to go through those adjustments with you, but I wanted to show you the behind the scenes just to kind of show you the difference. Now I'm going to take that automatic white balance off because you can't adjust any of the settings unless you take that off. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of zero all these things out, and it's going to look pretty weird here, but let's kind of go middle of the range on all of them. Hey, this would be a nice look, right? Well, let's talk a little bit about what things you're going to start working on. Brightness controls the overall level of your image. It makes the whole picture look lighter or darker without changing contrast or color. It's usually useful if it's too light or too dim. One of the problems that I typically have is I'm always changing my environment. So I'm going into lighter and darker rooms. Or I should say, not lighter or darker, but I've always got lighting going on, which I have today. But sometimes I'm getting a lot of sunlight coming in through, and then I can adjust this up or down. You can see that's getting really super bright, and that's pretty darn dark. It actually looks better darker because of the rest of the stuff is so out of whack. But the other thing I'm going to fix right away here because I can't stand that look is the temperature. So the temperature can be way into the orange, red, orange, way over here, or it can be over here a little more in the blue. You can see just doing that alone kind of corrected things. So let's talk a little bit about what white balance actually does, or temperature. It balances the color temperature to get accurate skin tones and lightening look. So it's expressed in kelvins, K, and the lower the Kelvin, like 2000 K, is the warmer, the more orange-red look that we just saw. And then the higher the Kelvin, 10,000 K, is the cooler colors, the bluer. Now, I showed you the auto balance, which is usually sometimes can be pretty good, but I found that especially at night, that during the daytime, not too bad with sunlight, but with these artificial lights, everybody looks yellow. So it's terrible. So let's go into, we talked about the brightness. Now that I've got a little better picture here, I'm going to show you as we go way up. You can see that's too high. You can look at my shirt is black and it's kind of making it look almost a white black. So you don't want that. You want to bring it down. And as you get too dark, it gets a little hard to see. And we are using a green screen. So sometimes I get a little bit of activity because it's not enough power to get the green screen engaged. I kind of like somewhere in the middle of the road. I want to be able to see the difference between my shoulder and the office behind me, so it looks nice and clear. Now, the next thing is contrast I'm going to talk about. So let's just talk about what is contrast. That controls the difference between the light areas and the dark areas. High contrast, the image looks punchier, deeper shadows and highlights. Lower the contrast, a softer look, a less dramatic lighting. So let's go ahead and play with our contrast here. So that's less contrast, kind of softens everything. Again, my shirt's getting washed out. My face to me looks washed out. Now we'll go way up in the contrast. Well, you can see how it's really punching me out now. It's you can see the difference between me and the background. It's really um somewhere in between is probably where I'm going to live. This does have percentages, and I'm looking at about 59% right now. And I'm good with that. I adjust to my eyes. There's no for this particular camera, there's no LUTs adjustments, which is a color correction tool you can use. So it's all done by eyeball. All right, so that's the contrast. The next thing we're going to talk about is something called saturation. So saturation boosts or reduces color intensity. More saturation, colors pop for a good or vibrant look. Less saturation, more neutral tones. So let's go ahead and play with our saturation button. So I'm going to bring that way down. And if you totally desaturate, you know what you get? Black and white. That could be a cool effect, right? So saturation is how much color is coming through. So as we start to open that spigot, now we start to see we're getting our colors coming in. And then we want to kind of come up. Now, if I want to look like I really got a good sunburn, that's when you kind of get your saturation way up here. So it's boosting all these things. I use it a little bit to try to control a little more, a little bit of red. So I like a little saturation myself, just a little pinkness to my face. My saturation is, by the way, so 50 is like 0 for this. So less is going to 0 and more is going to 100. I'm sitting at like 57 on my saturation. Another thing is sharpness. I use my sharpness 100%, but just in case you're wondering what is sharpness. So sharpness adjusts that edge definition. Higher sharpness, the edges look crisper. Lower, they look harsh. I think some people like low. I'm going to just show you. Here's sharpness all the way off. Some people like this look. I think it's that cinematic effect that people sometimes want to get, where it's a softer looking, focus. I actually go to 100% on sharpness because I like it to be crisp. So, and you can kind of see, how I stand out from my shirt and stuff. So we've got a pretty good balance here. And then I did talk to you about the white balance, and I'm going to just show you again really quick on how that works. So if we go too much higher Kelvins, we get almost a blue look. That's not the attractive look I'm looking for. I look a little dead. And again, if we go too far this way, we're going to go all the way into orange. And I see a lot of this yellow. And of course, my saturation's up a bit, which still preserves some of the red. But I want to cut down somewhere around 2750 Kelvin is where I'm using. So adjustments are going to vary depending on what you think is best for you. But that's the whole idea. Now I'm going to go back to our full screen to show you. You'll see the green screen coming up. And just to kind of show you those, where each of those adjustments are and what I was doing behind the scenes. So here you can see this is the InstaLink controller, Insta360 link controller. And it's got a bunch of buttons here that, quite frankly, I don't use any of those. But you could have it track you if you were using this AI tracking. The problem is sometimes I get up to go to the, get something out of, fill my coffee up, and the tracking is following me. So I like to make it myself. Oh, here's a good tip I should show you guys. Framing. I always talk about how you should be framed so that there's not a lot of headroom. Well, there's two things that the Insta360 allows you to change. And one of them is your view. You can actually go in tighter and tighter, and it goes even tighter close-ups. 1718, 19. I don't really remember how tight it'll get. It gets pretty tight, huh? Now you can see when I got really tight, I'm actually out of the frame. but I can reposition myself. Now I'm taking my mouse and I'm just grabbing my head, and it's actually turning the camera. Now that's a slick trick I learned accidentally. So I really like that. So if you want it closer up or if you want it further away, this little adjustment here is what you're supposed to use to move yourself around. But once I found the other thing, I like about a 1.3 or 1.2. I kind of like to be able to see myself in the camera. And of course I want to get that framing right about there. I like to be able to see my patch and stuff in the frame. And I like to talk with my hands, so I like my hands to get in the frame too. So anyway, that's a little bit about that. And then now let's go back to these controls. And they start up here with HDR, which I leave on. That's high definition range. White balance, I turn off. If you don't turn it off, you can't use the corrections here. Here's my temperature one I was changing. You can't change exposure if you're in HDR. So if you want to play with exposure, you got to turn that off too. Autofocus, definitely you want that autofocus because that's what's going to allow it to come snapping back really quick. Brightness, again, I showed you, that's your too bright to too dark and somewhere in between. Contrast, too yellow. I mean, too faded out to too sharp. Saturation, that's going to be your no color at all, black and white, coming up to like really popping those colors and overdriving everything. And then finally the sharpness, I leave all the way there. And that's how you go and you follow through all these things. So let me go back to my studio. That's what happens when you have a backdrop behind you. That's a green screen. You can make your studio whatever you want. Now, so I do want to tell you that if you're interested, if you like this 360 camera, I've been pleased with it. It's a good bargain. You can go to my website at rotkiv.net. That's Victor backwards.net. Easy for me to remember anyway. But you can go to my streaming bootcamp website. And let's see, maybe I can pull that up here real quick for you. Yeah. I guess no, it won't show I thought I could show my screen, but it's not showing it. Oh, well, you'll take my word for it. Yeah, just go to the streaming bootcamp at rotciv.net. I've got some affiliate links that I put in there. One is for this 360 camera. You can click on, it'll take you right to the Amazon link that gets you to the camera. Support the show, buy the camera. So kind of a win-win. So I always think that those win-win is always good for everybody, right? But anyway, that's what I had to share for you today. Again, I've been using the camera for probably a year now. It went on sale a while back, and it's an expensive camera. You know, as cameras go, it's about the $150 range, but it's got a big sensor in it. It's PTZ, pan, tilt, zoom, which I showed you how that works. So you can change and frame yourself really easily. So yeah, I'm good with it. Somebody had asked a question here. Was I using the X5? And no, this is their, I think it's their X2, if I remember right. It's not their newest one. I bought it last year, and it was they were discontinuing that model. So I got it a good deal. Again, to me, it's been a really good camera. I do take the show on the road quite a bit. So when I'm traveling, I take it along with me. It clips right to the screen so I can use it. It's definitely better than the camera that's built into most laptops and things. It's not as good as like a true, they call it like an SLR, like a Sony FX30, I think it's called, but it's not $1,000 either. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this. And if you do, keep tuning in. This is my monthly. I share this with you. I do 5 different podcasts, and most of my podcasts are on either daily or weekly. This one is once a month because I'm just doing it for fun and kind of to hang out and, share stuff with everybody that I found as I've done some podcasting, and I really enjoy it as a hobby. I hope you'll take my words of advice to use. And like I said, if you want, go visit the website, and it'll always tell you what's coming up next month. Plus, got those affiliate links if you want to go ahead and pick up some products. Until then, we'll see everybody next month.